Welcome back guys to another episode of Under Construction. What we're going to be working on today is main project, the Ford TF Cortina. What we're going to be doing is mounting the alternator. Okay, so one of the problems we have that we're going to have to work on is the standard bracket of the alternator and where it sits. It's actually quite high and the alternator is supposed to rotate and sit around about here. Problem is, we've got a nice big turbo in the way now. So I'll just show you where it sort of mounts to. Okay, so it sits there. So that's where the alternator is supposed to go. Here where this bolt goes is where this bracket, which is the tensioner bracket, used to go to. So it used to mount to the water pump, or one of the water pump bolts, and then actually now we've got the hose sort of in the way, but it sat something like that. So this was adjustable like this, so you'd put a bit of tension on the belt so that it wouldn't slip. But as you can see, it's really high, it's really close to the turbo. So we're going to have to go down and basically reverse the positioning of the bracket itself. Alright, let's start modifying. Alright, so here's what the standard bracket looks like. Quite a bulky actual piece. This part here, I see the bolts to the block here, so imagine that's the block. It bolts up like that, and this part here would go to one of the water pump bolts and brace it even further. Bit of overkill, I think, but what it basically is just a few pieces of flat plate, angle bar here, just welded all together. So I should be able to just remove all the welds and it should just fall apart, and I can build it back up again in my own way, like a Lego set, I guess. So let's start removing these welds and pulling it apart. Okay, that was a lot harder than I thought. These welds were quite thick actually, and quite hard to get to, but I got there in the end. Just got to clean this all up. So this is what it looks like when it's all pulled apart. These are all the pieces that were just welded together. Just angle there. Everything else is flat plate. That's just been pieced together. Alright, let's clean it up. Okay, so I've been taking a few measurements here and there just to make sure that where I place the new brackets, everything will line up. So this one has to be cut down. I've made a line there, so it basically imitates this one. And this one, all I have to do with both of them anyway, is see there, that little section here, I'll just notch it out of the bracket. So where I've marked there, I'll just make a little notch so the actual bracket sits a little bit further up and hugs the alternator a bit more, and that'll stop the alternator from being mounted sort of at an angle like that. so it'll sit a little bit straighter, just for looks really. Functionality, it'll just be exactly the same, but it'll just help with tugging it closer to the block. So there's not so much, you know, stress and weight being put on the actual bracket itself. The closer you get it to the block, of course, the better it's going to be for it. But yeah, just a bit more further measuring, and I can start tacking things together and cutting these brackets up. Okay, so all the pieces are cut now to the lengths that I need and the new shapes. So this is basically how it'll sit. It'll mount up through this hole here. The other holes, well, they'll stay there. They were there before. I don't know, I could probably use them for something maybe later, maybe to mount something, maybe some other sort of bracket that I might need to use. But for now, I'm probably just keep them. I don't know if I'll fill them up with weld and close them up, but doesn't matter, either way it looks factory. That's the look I'm going for. So as you can see, nothing's welded up just yet. But I had to measure things very carefully, making sure that the pulley alignment will be correct. That's what you want to get the most. I've added a mil each side of these ends. So basically where these brackets grab here, I've added a mil and another mil, as this will be painted or coated of, you know, maybe powder coated of some form, so it can allow for that thickness. And if not, if it, you know, wobbles a bit too much, I can always put some sort of a thin washer there just to fill it up and tighten it back up again. But I think 1 mil each side will be nice. So now it's just a matter of welding it up. Let's get on to it. Okay, so there we have the bracket in place, but we've run into a dilemma. With all the measuring that I did, there was one type of measuring that I did not do. And that measuring is for the height. So I'll show you what happens. So we're lined up with the pulley, and the pulley hits the thermofan motor when it goes up. Now, I could run it there and that would clear, but it's too far away from the block for my liking. So we have to rethink things. So I'm going to take a few more measurements now to see where my height's at, and either drop those side brackets that clamp onto the alternator further down, or flip them around so that the short end is actually sticking out, and see where that leaves me. But I think the height will still be a problem, so I think either way I'm gonna have to drop them. So take a few measurements now and start rejigging things. Alrighty, so I've taken it back off. I've done some further calculating, and what I was just checking was how much further towards the block, so towards this side face here, I could get the alternator to sit up. So from this point here, I guess. So, you know, so the actual tensioner bracket isn't way too long. And from taking it from the original point, which is there, and then what I thought I'd try is to flip the bracket and try it from this point so that the actual bracket is standing up, to see if it got any closer, and it actually is 10 mil further away. So I'm best off sticking with my original plan, which is this. So having the bracket sit this way, but just moving these two further down the base sort of plate that sticks onto the block and the bolts go through.
So I'll slide them down, weld them up. If anything, I could add another further plate lower to here to make this sit further down. So it's got more support, which I've got a piece here anyway, which I've cut off the top of the bracket, which would be this plate here. So I can weld that to the bottom, and that would add even more strength if I really wanted to. I'm not sure yet whether I'm going to do that. So at least for now I know exactly what I've got to do. The pulley needs to be moved down 25 mil. To be exact, like it's 25 mil to clear the thermofan motor. So I'm going to allow obviously a bit more than that, so that it clears nicely, and for any movement of the motor or anything like that. So maybe go 35 mil, leave a nice 10 mil gap, and move these brackets further down. Okay, second time round, we've moved the brackets lower, as you can see, and now we clear. Actually clear by quite a lot. So that's good. That's actually touching, the housing of the alternator is actually touching on the brackets there, which I don't want it to do, but I wanted this part here, which is where the tensioner will go, and it'll probably go to one of the, where the water pump bolts used to go, one of those. I'll probably mount to one of them as well. I wanted that further up so that the alternator would actually hug towards the engine block a bit more, which is exactly what it's doing now. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Just got to fully weld it up. I think the strength will be there. I'm going to add another bracket to the bottom of these two so that it actually joins them up and has a bit more strength. So it's already got one at the top there, as you can see, but we'll need one at the bottom just to sort of box it, and that'll add a lot of strength to the actual bracket itself and everything. So because the alternators are quite heavy, so you don't want, you know, engine movement and this sort of being swayed back and forth in a way. You want, you know, as much strength as you can, holding that in place so that the actual fan belt stays in place. Well, it's not a fan belt in this case; it'll just be a belt, alternator belt. But yeah, really happy. Alright, let's fully weld it up and bolt it in and get the bracket on. Alright, we're in. Extra brace on the bottom there. As you can see, that brace there. That sort of boxes everything in. It already feels, even just with the tacks, it just feels stronger already, more sturdy. So what I've got to do now is measure the distance from where this lug will go here, where the bolt goes there, and, you know, over to either one of these. I think that would be the more likely one. Let me see. Maybe even that bottom one there. So maybe even this bolt here. I can sort of run it onto there. I just need a longer bolt and get one of those belt tensioner sort of turnbuckle looking things, so that you can stretch or decrease the distance for the belt, so that'll move the alternator back and forth in that direction. So until you've got it nice and tense, and it will do its job. See, this is the old one here. This is the old tensioner there. I don't really want to run the old tensioner. From as far as I remember, they used to always slip, and the bolt would move a little bit, and it just wouldn't hold the tension properly. So I'm going to try the turnbuckle style tensioner first, and then see how that goes. So I'm just going to measure that up now, because they all come in different measurements. Measure up the closest sort of distance from those bolts to where the alternator bolt would go, and see what that sort of measurement is, and then order one of those. Okay, having another think about it, I'm going to use the original belt tensioner. It looks more suitable to the theme which I'm going for. It looks more standard, which is what I'm after. I think I'll just radiise the corners of the bracket of the plate. So those corners there like that, I'll just radiise them a little bit just to smooth them off, make them look a lot neater. But I think I'll keep it. I think I'll keep the original belt tensioner and just keep it there. It does seem stiff enough, so I'm not too sure what used to happen to the old car that I used to have. It used to slip. I don't know, maybe I was doing it wrong. But it seems nice and tight now. Everything lines up from the looks of things. I've checked the best I can the alignment of the pulleys, and that all looks good. So I'm happy. Lots of clearance now to the turbo, as you can see. The turbo nice and high, alternator nice and low, and lots of clearance. So I can run a pipe for the air filter and then make some sort of an air box here, I guess. That's the plan anyway. Beautiful. Another job done. So there you have it, another part done. Low mount alternator bracket. Turned out really nice. I've TIG welded all the plates back up. It's nice and strong. This ain't gonna go nowhere. I radialised all the edges just to make them all nice and smooth and make them look a bit more sort of factory looking, as if they haven't been cut. Radialised all the corners there just to smooth them all off. Looks good. I'll be ordering another alternator from eBay. There's a fella on there out of South Australia that rebuilds these with 120 amp Bosch internals. So that'll be plenty for what I'm after, running all the EFI stuff, the thermos, any stereo gear. There's the electric water pump, stuff like that. So there's a heap of electric components that I'm adding to the car compared to standard, so I need a larger alternator. I'm happy I ended up using the standard tensioner. It looks a lot better. If there's one tip that I can give for this situation, it's measure, measure, measure. There's not enough measuring and there's not enough dummy fitting, so tack all your bits up, dummy fit. Do something else, dummy fit. Keep testing, keep taking it off. Trying new things, measuring and making sure that everything clears and everything is supposed to go where it's supposed to go. Luckily enough, I did have enough room to mount the brackets a little bit lower. As you saw from the first attempt, it hit the thermofan motor. So moving the brackets down, cleared all that, it's beautiful now. Alright, so next up, what I'm going to be working on is that fuel rail area that's near the firewall, where the fuel rail ended up going into the cover plate that I made for the battery box. So I'll redesign that, just the back part. I'll just cut a little bit more out, redesign it and close it all back in again so it all looks neat, and then move on to something else. But we're almost done in the engine bay, which is great. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give it a like, subscribe and leave a comment.